scouts, spies, and special agents inhabit a captivating world, where the line between truth and deception becomes blurred, and a loyal follower can abruptly transform into a double agent for the enemy. To navigate this intricate web of lies, one must possess not only the strength of Agent 007, but also the intellect of Einstein and the persuasive eloquence of the American president. While the James Bond and Sturlitz movies offer compelling insights into the lives of professional spies, today we approach the subject from a historical perspective. Together with our protagonist, we assume the role of a triple agent, simultaneously working for the USSR, England, and the Third Reich. Our mission entails aiding in the Normandy landing, even winning the trust of Hitler himself. This promises to be an enthralling journey, so let us acquaint ourselves with our protagonist, Mateo Garcia. This remarkable individual hails from Spain. Although it is widely believed that Spain did not participate in the Second World War, as is often the case, the truth lies in the details. On one hand, under the leadership of General Franco, Spain emerged as a staunch ally of Hitler during those years. The Third Reich had supported the anti-communist government's triumph in the Civil War and logically anticipated reciprocal support. Indeed, Spain did lend support in return, as the Spanish government officially permitted its citizens to volunteer for the German army. On the other hand, the Spaniards imported oil from the United States and possessed vulnerable colonies that the British could effortlessly seize. Consequently, Spain officially hesitated to join the war on Germany's side and found itself caught in the crossfire for a protracted 6 years. The same can be said for its citizens, as the country endured a civil war from 1936 to 1939. On one side, the Republicans fought, receiving support from France and the Soviet Union, while on the other side, General Franco, the embodiment of military dictatorship, led the opposition. Hitler found favor with this situation and, along with Italy and certain Asian countries, lent support to Franco's victory in the Civil War. However, those who fought for the Republic did not fade into obscurity. While many Spaniards joined the ranks of the Third Reich, as encouraged by the government, nearly twice as many aligned themselves with the Allies. In the French Foreign Legion alone, 60,000 Spaniards served. Our protagonist, Mateo Garcia, did not enroll in the Legion, but he harbored an intense animosity toward Hitler and desired to contribute in some way. The reason for his hatred is apparent. Hailing from a privileged family, Mateo had experienced various aspects of life and possessed considerable intelligence. During the Civil War, he supported the Republicans until they seized his father's factory and handed it over to the workers. Afterward, Garcia defected to General Franco's Hitler-supported forces, but he had more in mind than meets the eye. Realizing the futility of the dictatorship, Mateo attempted to join British intelligence. Given the proximity of Spain to Hitler, this would have proven valuable. However, as one can imagine, the intelligence community had no interest in accepting amateurs to their ranks. The risk of encountering a double agent posing as a novice was always present. After facing numerous rejections from the British, French, and subsequently the US, Garcia devised an unconventional plan. He began working as a spy for the Third Reich, providing them with counterfeit information. It was the year 1940, and Hitler desperately required data on the location of British troops. Preparations for the invasion of the island were in full swing, and spies were in demand like never before. Mateo possessed an impressive background. A supporter of General Franco, his father's factory seized by communists, and a British visa, seemingly an ideal candidate. Thus, Garcia swiftly rose through the ranks and became a spy for the Third Reich's military intelligence service, known as the Abwehr. Mateo's mission was to report on the numbers and deployment of British troops on the continent. The Third Reich assigned Garcia the codename Alaric and provided him with $3,000 for expenses. This is where we step into Mateo's shoes, for he faced a challenging task: how to spy on England while being based in Spain. Moreover, he had audaciously forged the British visa submitted to the Germans as part of his cover story. With no means to enter the country and lacking English language skills, Mateo relied on his sharp intellect and burning desire to outwit Hitler's agents. Thus, our resourceful protagonist set off for Portugal. As a neutral country, its capital, Lisbon, had become a hub for trade and transportation due to its neutral status, effectively making it the espionage capital of the world. And so, Garcia arrived in Lisbon, where he could gather intelligence on the situation in England even more effectively than if he were in London. However, it was crucial to prevent the Germans from discovering his true whereabouts. Fortunately, the nature of spying meant that no one would investigate Mateo's location to maintain the secrecy of his mission. Officially, Garcia posed as a freelance journalist, conducting research on the state of medicine in London. He sent written reports to the editorial office in France twice a week. The Germans received these reports and promptly analyzed them. At this stage of his work, encryption of the data did not concern Alaric. Mateo wrote his reports using invisible ink between the lines. Yet one challenge remained. Garcia was in London only in the eyes of Hitler's scouts. In reality, he resided in Lisbon and could not leave. But would that deter a true spy? Using his resourcefulness, Mateo devised a flawless scheme. He informed the Germans that he had recruited a stewardess who flew from London to Lisbon. Passing notes through her proved much safer, as mail was rigorously inspected during wartime. The Abwehr scouts were thrilled to have such a resourceful agent, and the predicament in Lisbon was resolved. The remaining challenge was how to gather information about the situation in England while being in Portugal. However, as previously mentioned, Lisbon had earned its reputation as the espionage capital of the world during World War II for a reason. In the bars of this neutral country, one could encounter everyone from Soviet communists to fervent Hitler supporters, not to mention British merchants. Mateo engaged in extensive conversations with Englishmen who knew Spanish, absorbing information like a sponge. He also perused English newspapers translated into Spanish, committing the map of London to memory and collecting the fragments of data he required. And thus, the fun begins. Upon hearing a British merchant lament about his ship being detained by the military in Plymouth, Mateo casually inquires about the approximate number of ships and promptly heads to the library to obtain a map of English ports. He compiles a report for the Germans, fabricating additional details about the classes and combat capabilities of the British vessels. To augment his reports, Garcia adds tidbits from the newspapers, such as Londoners being prohibited from using their cars and the confiscated gasoline allegedly being transported to the port of Plymouth. Similar reports, concocted by Mateo, are sent to the Germans 2 or 3 times a week, much to their delight. After all, even a cursory verification by aerial reconnaissance seemingly confirms everything, although the remaining details provided by Pujol are pure nonsense, known only to the highest-ranking British officials and not the operatives in Berlin. They are conveniently overlooked. Naturally, this scheme eventually encounters glitches, but our Mateo is far from foolish. In order to shift the blame, he invents an entire network of informants. Heads of pharmacies, journalists, doctors, and a multitude of fictional individuals are created, each with meticulously crafted biographies, purportedly working for the Germans in London. The Germans are ecstatic, since more than half of Pujol's reports turn out to be true, and any inaccuracies can be dismissed as errors, considering that in the realm of espionage, even 50% truth carries significant weight. Month after month, Mateo extracts vital information from rumors and gossip, intermingling them with nonsense, steadily climbing the ladder of German intelligence. At this point, Garcia proceeds to the next phase of his plan. In 1941, he informs the Germans about a large and highly vulnerable British convoy in the Mediterranean Sea. The convoy is entirely fictitious, yet the Third Reich launches a frantic search for it. The bewildered British, scrutinizing the reports of their own scouts, are left perplexed as they never provided fakes to Hitler. It is during this time that our protagonist re-establishes contact, offering his services to British MI5 while simultaneously admitting responsibility for the fabricated convoy story. Such a resume instantly earns him the trust of the British, and Pujol's deceptions reach new heights. In 1942, Mateo finally arrives in London and begins collaborating with the genuine intelligence service. Together with the British, Garcia expands his fictional network, which the German Abwehr dubs Arabelle. Within a year, it becomes the most trusted source for the Germans, as the British supply Garcia with actual information to maintain the Germans' confidence. This information is expertly intermingled with fabricated details, but now it encompasses not just individual convoys but entire armies. In 1944, our protagonist receives a letter from the Germans notifying him of his nomination for an award, with his reports being personally presented to Hitler. This marks Mateo Garcia's finest moment, as the opening of the Second Front and the Normandy landing loom near. Contrary to popular belief, this operation is no walk in the park. It involves hundreds of thousands of soldiers, tanks, and aircraft, preparations that cannot be concealed. However, with the assistance of Mateo Garcia, it becomes possible to deceive Hitler by providing him with false information about the landing site. And that's exactly what our double agent does. Garcia informs Hitler in a letter that his agency unanimously claims that the real landing will occur in the Belgian sector. He alleges that the Normandy landing is a decoy, designed to draw German reinforcements while the British strike unexpectedly from another flank. It is important to note that this version of events is shattered by Field Marshal Rommel. However, by 1944, Hitler's condition is pitiful, and he unquestioningly trusts the agent who has been faithfully working with him for 4 years, accurately predicting the British Army's targets. On the other hand, the British have deployed an entire army of inflatable tanks and planes near Edinburgh. At Rommel's urging, Hitler instructs the Abwehr to verify Garcia's information, and the intelligence mistakenly confirms it, mistaking the inflatable tanks for real ones from high above. Despite Rommel's pleas to send troops to Normandy, the Führer believes the agent and keeps them stationed in Belgium. Even when the British landing commences, Hitler remains convinced, thanks to Matteo's letters, that it is a ruse, insisting that all forces should remain concentrated in Belgium. During those critical 12 days of delay, while the Germans are ensnared in Normandy and their reserves remain idle in the wrong location, the Allies seize the opportunity. They establish airfields and supply lines for food, weapons, and ammunition. When Garcia eventually conveys the message that the landing is indeed real, the German defeat is already a foregone conclusion. However, Hitler remains oblivious, and instead of exposing the spy, he honors him with one of Germany's highest decorations, the Iron Cross. Additionally, he rewards Matteo with a bonus of $20,000. With just one successful double agent, hundreds of thousands of lives are saved, and the second front is secured. It is worth mentioning that for such a remarkable achievement, Garcia is also bestowed with the highest British honor, the Knight's Cross. Thus, Matteo effectively serves 2 intelligence services simultaneously, receiving the highest accolades from both. This incredible story may seem like a fairy tale, but the beauty of it lies in its factual existence. The scout we have discussed is named Juan Garcia, and every detail presented in this account is true. Furthermore, Garcia clandestinely served in German intelligence until the Germans' defeat in the war, remaining undiscovered. At the Nuremberg trials, Field Marshal Keitel explicitly stated that 99% of the Führer's orders were based on reports from Agent Alaric. The man whom nobody desired, disregarded, and scorned managed to forge an astounding career within 2 of the world's largest intelligence agencies. Some even speculate that he served in the Soviet Union as well, explaining the remarkable accuracy of Juan's reports originating from Lisbon. However, the truth will forever remain elusive. As for Garcia himself, he orchestrated a fake death in 1945 and lived a peaceful life in Venezuela. Juan Garcia lived to the age of 76 and serves as the epitome of the saying, "If you want something done, do it yourself." Farewell, dear viewers, until we meet again.